Hey everyone, we're back with another episode of How to Get My Job. We sit down with amazing people within the design and product industry and ask them how their career started, evolved, and what advice they have for those coming after them. Joining us today is Paola Mariselli, Director of Product Design at Bumble. Hi Paola, how are you doing?
Hi, Danielle. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Always, anytime. Yeah, so we've been speaking for a while now, and yeah, I'm just so excited to have you as a guest on the show today, as your experience in design is incredible, and there's going to be a lot of people listening who would love to know how you got to where you are today. So let's just jump straight into it with the first question. How did you get your first job in product design?
That's a great question. I had a very circuitous route to design. Part of it was by chance and part of it highly intentional. So one of my first jobs was at an investment bank on Wall Street, where I was a product slash project manager. And I really loved that job. I was very well suited to do it. And I found myself in that role, not only interacting with engineers, but also traders, and also figuring out the logic behind what we were building. So mocking up the specs and then going through iterations with engineers on technical feasibility and with traders doing some usability testing. And I didn't have the terminology back then. I just knew that I enjoyed my job, but I really enjoyed these other parts of my job that were a little bit more multidisciplinary. And that just challenged me in a different way. And eventually I learned that those pieces of the job were this function called product design. And once I learned that, then that's where the intentional part of this comes, where I very intentionally steered my career or the ship towards more of these opportunities, first within the company and then in other companies. And each of those opportunities just served as confirmation that this was the right path for me to go towards, rather than stay in the PM sphere, to move towards the design space, that's where my dream role would be. And I was right. Design is absolutely my dream role. And if I have any advice for any other folks, especially folks early in their career, is to just explore really wide and to be really curious. Because even if you are in a current role that you enjoy, there are unknown unknowns where you might actually find out that there's another job that you enjoy even more, but you won't find out unless you're very open to all kinds of opportunities and experiences.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think it's, a lot of people will resonate with how you kind of maneuvered into product design. So yeah, like I said before, like your experience is amazing and you've worked at some incredible companies that a lot of people listening would love to work at. So what does it take to be a success at big tech companies like Meta and Bumble?
I think that having worked at many different types of companies, the behaviors may apply in slightly different ways, but they're really the same, whether you're working at a big company or a small company, that can help you make you successful, I guess, if you define success as continuously growing. And so one of those behaviors for me is just not being afraid of doing more work, and just generally being proactive. At Facebook, we had a poster that said, "Nothing at Facebook is somebody else's problem." And that was my favorite poster. So if you're working on X, and while you're working on X, you realize that there's Y, that it's, a problem, something that could help X, but it's owned by another team. Don't be afraid to also get your hands dirty and try to fix Y, or go meet with that team. And so that's one piece, just being proactive and seeking opportunities. I think the second behavior would be around just being an oversharer, and communicating really openly and very transparently what you're working on. That came really handy at Facebook because the company was so large that if I didn't communicate what I was working on, I wouldn't have found out that another part of the company was working on the exact same thing. And then we could work together on the project and it would make it much better. And so just very communicating very openly and transparently the things that you're working on is always very good for the product and for yourself. And the third behavior that I would share is around just having a general love for learning and a growth mindset. And if you have this one, everything else can be worked on because you are open to growing and learning, and you accept that you might be wrong sometimes, because the only way to grow is to be challenged. And when you are challenged, truly challenged, then you are going to fall short, and you are going to notice some gaps in your current skill set. And that's what's going to allow you to reveal those unknown unknowns about yourself and allow you to actually grow and succeed in your role.
I love all of those things. I think, yeah, that little quote that you said was at on the wall at Facebook, that whole idea of like being proactive and getting stuck in, getting your hands dirty, not being afraid to be uncomfortable, because that's usually where growth comes from, is a great message. And being as you're quite senior now in your career, and you've been doing this for a while, what do you see as the biggest jump from design manager to director of product design?
Yeah, I think the biggest learning is around the fact that each management role is terminal. Each of those levels is a completely different role. From, if you're looking at the SE track versus the management track, it doesn't have to necessarily be a ladder. So if you are a design manager and you are supporting two designers, but you're also really hands-on, and you love this because you love the balance between being able to be stuck in Figma, but also supporting people, you do not have to go ahead and move to a completely different role of being a senior design manager, where you're only going to be supporting other managers, right? And again, you don't have to switch to become head of design or director of product design, where now your craft is the design of the org, and your peers are your cross-functional peers more so than your design peers. And so understanding that it's not just having that mindset shift on what those roles are on the management track, that each one is a completely different role. And as such, the craft, what you focus on, is going to really change. So being very intentional and very thoughtful about those changes is really important, because each one will have a different set of considerations.
I see some people actually becoming a manager and then maybe not being quite what they want to do, and then going back to being an individual contributor. So yeah, I think it's like, yeah, whatever works for you, I guess, is I guess a good message there as well. But yeah. So yeah, I guess this leads us to our last question. What's the best career advice you've ever been given?
It's really hard. I think it changes with the season and what you are facing, whether something really resonates with you or not. I think in general, I found that having a vision, it's really, really helpful in your career and perhaps other parts of your life too. Having a vision of what you want, who you want to be, what you want to achieve, assessing the trade-offs that come with achieving that goal, and then just really strategically taking steps towards it. I feel like the word calculated sometimes takes a bad rap, but being calculated, being very, just like we are with our designs, we're incredibly thoughtful and intentional, and doing the same thing with our careers, and really thinking through, what are the trade-offs? What are the edge cases? What are all the considerations, right? What am I giving up to go this route versus another? And then thinking that strategically as well, in our own careers, and just plowing ahead and just going for it.
I love that. And yeah, no, that word definitely does have bad connotations, but the way that you've kind of framed it has actually made me rethink that word, because you hear a lot of people say, oh, I stumbled into this career, but I really love the fact that you've kind of, yeah, the way you've described it in being intentional, because there are a lot of people who are making those strategic moves and need to know that a lot of people who are in, amazing positions like yourself have made intentional steps rather than, oh, I stumbled into this. Yes, that's really great advice. And I definitely am a big believer in having a vision and just plowing forward with that vision and putting everything into it. So thank you so much, Paola, for all of that amazing advice and sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No worries. And until next time, bye for now. Thank you for listening to How to Get My Job. You can follow us on social media at Found by Few for more career tips and advice. Until next time, bye.